Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well. Chapter 2. All right, if you haven't read chapter 2 yet, go ahead and pause the video. All right, so chapter 2, what's happening? So the wise men, they're on the scene. They're coming to King Herod and they're asking where the king of the Jews is. Now, I don't want to go over too much too quickly, but I do want you to understand that the wise men would have been Gentile people. And from the previous video, I think I went over that Gentiles weren't Jews. That's really what a Gentile is anybody not a Jew. So they probably were familiar with Old Testament scriptures because of that deportation to Babylon that I had briefly kind of talked about in chapter 1's video. So the Jews were taken away to Babylon. They're probably from that region of some sort, and they were familiar with the scriptures and learned them. And when they saw a star in the sky, they actually were probably referencing this prophecy in the book of Numbers. And I'm gonna read it really quickly. I apologize. I'll be looking down a little bit in this video more than I usually do, only because I want to share with you some scriptures outside of the Gospels. So it says 24:17. Well, let me start with 16. It says, "The oracle of him who hears the words of God and knows the knowledge of the Most High, who sees the vision of the Almighty falling down with his eyes uncovered. I see him, but now I behold him, but not near. A star shall come out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel." And this is the scripture they were referring to when they said, "We've seen his star." And so these Magi, who were probably numerous in number, they're probably weren't just three of them. I don't know if you're familiar with the nativity scene, but this is kind of like where we get the nativity scene where you have three wise men and they approach Jesus and he's still in the little manger. The story doesn't exactly go like that. There were probably more than just three wise men, but I can tell you that they would have traveled in a large group of with a large group of attendants and even guards. If they had come from Babylon, it would have been an 800-mile journey. They're very wealthy and knowledgeable people. So this was a very prestigious announcement when King Herod was approached by them and asked, "Hey, where's the king of the Jews?" Now, the king of the Jews at the time was Herod. Herod was appointed by Rome. I got to make that clear. And so he would have been caught off guard. Like, wait a minute, what do you mean king of the Jews? So he was a bit worried. That's why you read about him calling in the scribes and trying to figure out, well, where is the Messiah supposed to be born? And they nailed down, okay, he's supposed to be born in Bethlehem. And he pulls the wise men aside and he says, all right, when you go and you find him, can you come back and tell me so that I can also go and worship him? And so they all agree. They're like, okay, yeah, we can do that. So from that point forward, they go find Jesus. They actually, at this time, Jesus would have been about 2 years old, maybe a little younger than that, but he would not have been a baby in a manger. And that's really important for what's going to happen later. But basically, they find Jesus, they worship him, they offer him gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And I know we have Christmas songs about that and everything, but this is an act of worship. I mean, they see a child who isn't even 2 years old yet, and they worship him. You know, they know for a fact this is the King of the Jews, the Messiah. What an awesome experience this must have been for Mary and Joseph to kind of soak this in and even faith building. Like, wow, like what we've been going through, it's almost unfolding, you know, right before our eyes. And he's only 2 years old, so that's really cool. Now, after the wise men had offered their gifts and they worshiped Jesus, they were warned in a dream to not go back to Herod, which was a good thing because we know Herod probably didn't have the best intentions. Actually, he didn't at all, because we find out right now that he wants to kill Jesus. He wants to kill him. So when the wise men leave, Joseph in a dream, again, the dream, is approached by an angel, or an angel speaks to him in a dream and says, you need to go to Egypt because King Herod is going to try to kill your son. So he is obedient. He gets up, takes his family, they flee to Egypt. And King Herod, when he realizes that, hey, these wise men, they're not coming back, makes a command to kill all children 2 years and under. Unfortunately, that's a terrible event. And we even see a fulfillment of scripture here that Matthew quotes. But after King Herod dies, Joseph again is visited by an angel in a dream and says it's safe to go back to Israel. And when they go to Israel, he receives another dream, and it tells him to be mindful about where he goes back to. And so they go to Galilee and they settle down in a town called Nazareth. I want to cover this really quickly. In Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 15, there's a prophetic word that says that that there will be another prophet like Moses that is raised up. And there are a lot of like parallels to Moses' life here. I mean, he'll be brought out of Egypt. Who else was brought out of Egypt, right? Moses was brought out of Egypt with the people of Israel, but whose life was also endangered when he was a young boy? Moses's, because like Pharaoh, Herod also wanted to kill all the male sons. And again, just some parallels there that I think Matthew is trying to unveil to the readers as he was telling this story to them. Jesus is that prophet in the Old Testament that is prophesied about being a prophet like Moses. And now we know Jesus is greater than Moses, and that's yet to be revealed, but he will reveal it as we continue to read. Another really cool thing that Matthew says before we close out this video on chapter 2 is it says that he'll be called the Nazarene. Well, why does he do that? Well, it's kind of twofold. It could be two reasons. One, the Nazareth, the people of Nazareth, the city of Nazareth was despised. And so, like the prophets, they were despised. And so the prophets also prophesied that Jesus, the Messiah, would be despised. And so there's this connection that he's coming from a town that's despised. The prophets were despised, and the prophetic words over the Messiah, that he would be despised, is all kind of being fulfilled in this moment. Another thing, too, is that in the Hebrew, the word Nazareth and the word branch sound the same. And so you're like, well, how does that make any sense? Well, that play on words, right, would have kind of clicked in the Jewish mind when referring to Isaiah 11. And I want to read this to you before we close this out. Again, I apologize that I'll be looking down. But it says, "There shall come forth a shoot from the stump of Jesse, and a branch from his roots shall bear fruit." Now, this is the branch that they would have thought about. If he's the son of David, and he's coming from a place that sounds like a branch, again, play on words, he would have been referring to Isaiah 11:1, and I'm just going to read 1 through 9. "And the Spirit of Yahweh shall rest upon him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and the fear of Yahweh, and his delight shall be in the fear of Yahweh. He shall not judge by what his eyes see, or decide disputes by what his ears hear, but with righteousness he shall judge the poor, and decide with equity for the meek of the earth. And he shall strike the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips he shall kill the wicked. Righteousness shall be the belt of his waist, and faithfulness the belt of his loins." I love this part right here. "The wolf shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the young goat, and the calf and the lion and the fattened calf together, and a little child shall lead them. The cow and the bear shall graze, their young shall lie down together. The lion shall eat straw like the ox. The nursing child shall play over the hole of the cobra, and the weaned child shall put his hand on the adder's den. They shall not hurt or destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth shall be full of the knowledge of Yahweh, as the waters cover the sea." And here we are. Matthew is introducing us to Jesus, the Messiah, who will fill us with the knowledge of Yahweh. Anyway, so this is the end of Matthew chapter 2. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you come back for chapter 3. I love you guys.